Remember when now Supreme Court Justice Elena Kagan was being confirmed in the summer of 2010, when there were major questions surrounding her role in Obamacare's success? Whether she would have a conflict of interest should Obamacare be taken up by the court someday? Well, here we are in 2011, and this week the Supreme Court decided it would, in fact, put the Obamacare case on the docket for a ruling next summer. Should Kagan recuse herself from the case? I'm Katie Pavlich from townhall.com, filling in for Scott Ott. This is Trifecta. Here to answer these questions and more, Steve Green, host of Hair of the Dog, and Bill Whittle, host of Afterburner here on PJTV. Gentlemen, it seems that under the self-declared most transparent administration in the history of the United States, Kagan should recuse herself from the Obamacare case in the name of transparency. Emails show her cheering the passage of Obamacare. What say you, Steve? Conflict of interest?
Well, yeah. Kagan was, Solicitor General when the White House was putting together its Obamacare legal strategy. She's been in on this from the get-go. But you know what? Let's pretend. Let's just pretend that she knew someday she might sit on the bench and had underlings do all the work in Obamacare. She never even checked their work. Now, we can only pretend that, 'cause, the White House won't release the email showing what she did or didn't do. We've got a couple of them, that's it. So even if we do the make-believe assumption, Kagan should still recuse herself for the mere appearance of impropriety. But the odds of that happening, probably about the same as me putting a friend of Bill W. bumper sticker on the back of my Jeep. It's just not going to happen.
You are a friend of Bill W.
Bill,
Bill
are we looking at
Bill W. It's different. It's different.
It's not so different, right, guys? But Bill, are we looking at a bigger problem here than just Obamacare? What happens if Obamacare is ruled constitutional? Obama gets another term with 3 new Supreme Court nominations. What kind of power grabs do you think we're going to see? More Constitution shredding?
Not much left to shred, honestly, and the thought of it, frankly, leaves me frightened and confused and incapable of speaking. So I'll just do my Elena Kagan impersonation from the video we just saw. No, but seriously, honestly, you talk about a conflict of interest, and I know you're being facetious when you say, is it a conflict of interest? Because, of course, it is. But my take on this, Katie, is it's not a conflict of interest, and I'll tell you why. The Obama administration, Reid, Pelosi, and all these people, socialists throughout American history, have tried to use the courts to present to the American people a big helping plate of socialism that they don't want. And since they can't win it at the polls, they try to do it through the courts. So it's not a conflict of interest. It's a convergence of interests. And the interest is to ram these things down our throat no matter what we think about it. So this is not a surprise. It's certainly a shock to those of us who have some constitutional principles. But when you look at how these people work, it's the courts, it's the media, it's everything in a full court press to make sure that you get something you don't want, you don't need, and doesn't work.
Not very good news.
No.
So, Steve, say by chance a Republican beats Obama, what kind of nominee do you think they should put up for the Supreme Court if they're going to get 3 of them in the next 4 years?
I guess there are some obvious answers. I'd like a conservative on the bench, maybe get a libertarian up there finally. I'd like to see a strict constructionist or maybe another judge who believes in original intent. And I guess it's all fine and good as far as it goes. But, I look at someone like Elena Kagan, and I just despise her. Not because she's a liberal, not because she believes in this living constitution or she's the wise Latina or any of that. I despise her because she's sitting up there as a pure partisan with a political agenda. So the next justice, I think I care less about which way they lean politically than I do about just one thing. Will they show integrity on the bench? There's damn little of that. We need more of it.
Yeah, I would say I would hope for someone who doesn't think the Constitution is a living, breathing document and who actually respects that it's the founding of our country, right? Bill, considering Supreme Court nominations are for life and their decisions on the court are permanent, is 2012 a tipping point for the direction of the country? Should Obama get a second term?
Categorically, Katie, and I'm so glad you raised that point because people think that a presidential election is a presidential election. And, worst case scenario, you suffer through 4 years and you throw the bums out. But you don't get to throw these bums out. They're there for life. And again, as I said earlier, they will use the courts to overturn laws that the American people want, to overturn policies that the American people want. And if you look at the structure of the Constitution, if you read the Founding Fathers, the idea that the Supreme Court could rule a law passed by Congress unconstitutional was anathema to them. They damn near fought another revolution over it. The Supreme Court was supposed to be the Supreme Court, the final stop in the land. So if you have an argument about where your fence boundary is, you take it higher and higher and higher, you finally go to the Supreme Court. They were never intended to overturn the will of the people because they don't represent the people.
Bill, I think we've made it clear 2012 is going to be a critical year with the ruling on Obamacare and whether Obama will indeed receive 3 more Supreme Court nominations should he be reelected. Thank you both. That's Bill Whittle, co-founder of Declaration Entertainment and the creator of Afterburner, right here on PJ TV, along with Steve Green, host of Hair of the Dog. Well, folks, I think it's clear 2012 isn't just about another election of Democrats versus Republicans. It even means more than stopping President Obama's habit of spending money we don't have and indulging in crony capitalism. If Obama gets a second term, we're looking at decades of progressive decisions being made by the Supreme Court, decisions that will turn America even further to the left and making the path we are currently on even more unsustainable. Can you afford 4 more years? America cannot. For Trifecta, I'm Katie Pavlich.